We're plat 1. Tonight sucked. YouTube, we got platinum, and it's not just a clickbaity kind. We actually got plat 1, and I think that probably won't remain the highest rank for long. Anyway, we're playing Zombie World Control, and it is not so much control as it is do something else if your normal summon is interrupted. So what's the whole point of this deck? Well, Zombie World is a card. It's fantastic. It makes everything in the worlds and all the existences that are cemeterialist. They're zombies, so get God. Why do we care about that? Well, because we also have the baller Drock, who can special summon from your graveyard every standby phase. Yours, your opponent's best friends, your opponent's best friend's enemy who secretly were lovers that they ended up marrying 10 years after college. Any standby phase, you will summon as long as the field spell's on the field, including Zombie World. So the basic gist of it is whenever a zombie monster's effect is activated, it doesn't matter if it's your own or your opponent's, you have 2 effects that you can activate from Boulder Drock. You can activate both in the turn, but you can't activate them in the same chain. So you can negate that monster's effect wherever it is. If it's a zombie monster in the hand, in the graveyard, in the field, yada yada yada, you're negating that. Or you could banish one monster from the field or graveyard. It is not targeting. It's cracked. It's insane. So that's pretty much the gist of it. So again, Zombie World's cool because it makes all monsters on both sides of the field zombies and in the graveyard. So that means anytime your opponent activates an effect on their side of the field, you could just negate it as long as it's a monster. And if they activate a monster effect in the graveyard while you have Zombie World up, you could just negate it. And then later on, you could do shenanigans. They activated their effect, or you activate one of your own zombie monster's effect, use Baller Drock to banish, and you're chilling. How do we get into our combo? Well, we got a plethora of ways that we decided to do our thingy with. So, okay, our main starters are, we have Unizombie, we have Gazuki, and we have Solitaire. The main one being Unizombie and Solitaire attributing itself to summon the Unizombie. And what you do is, typically you want to mill Doom King or Necroworld Banshee, depending on which you don't have access to already. Necroworld Banshee's effect is you can banshee from the field or from the graveyard to be able to, as a quick effect, activate Zombie World from the deck. It doesn't matter if you have a field spell in your field already. It just says, no, I'm playing this over. And it's wonderful because that's also a zombie effect that you could activate to trigger Balderock's effect if it's on the field already. So yeah, that's your main combo. But let's say you have like Necroworld Banshee in the hand and you don't have access to Balderock. Well, yeah, use Unizombie so that you could go ahead and discard the Banshee with its first effect to increase its level by 1, and then you use Unizombie as a second effect so you can build Baller Drock, and suddenly you have access to Zombie World and Baller Drock, and you're literally a winner. It's insane. Gazuki could kind of do the same thing, just without the flexibility of also being able to discard a piece that you might want in the graveyard from your hand, but it does allow for certain plays where you could extend the board, but those require much bigger fields. But Solitaire, it's scary because Ash Blossom is literally everywhere, but if the Solitaire tribute goes through, you could summon the Unizombie, which is usually you want to do, or later on in the game, or depending on this game state, you could summon Glow Bloom instead, which, when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, allows you to add a level 5 or higher zombie monster from your deck to the hand. The targets being the Boulder Rock and Jacobolon. Now, if you have Zombie World in the field, Bloom says, fuck it, I'm summoning that shit instead. And so you can summon your Boulder Rock, and then it's pretty dank. So that's the main combo. You don't want your Solitaire getting ashed. You don't want your Doom King Boulder Rock to get negated. So you're by a banish from Called by the Grave. So you play your own Called by the Grave on Ash, and then you just accept the fact that you have to play 2 Baller Drock because that first Called by the Grave is fucking you. So that makes sense, but why do we play other cards? Well, Ash Blossom is a good card, if you didn't know, so play it. Maxi is also a good card, if you didn't know, so play it. I do want to replace this with something. I want to replace it with Effect Failure. It seems nonsensical, but there's actually reason to it built within the engine that we play here. Now, Mizuki. We have Mizuki here as a way to help us extend the board and help us go into link summoning plays that allow us to garner more advantage while still achieving our same combo, but better. So the basic idea is if you mill Gazuki, you could, or Mizuki, you could banish it so you can special summon another zombie monster from your graveyard. So some certain situations you could have, let's say, you could mill a monster off of Unizombie, and then you could discard Mizuki from the hand, or you could mill the Mizuki and discard a monster from your hand with Unizombie, because you have that utility with Unizombie of being able to do both. both. And then you could use the effect of Mizuki to special summon the zombie monster from your graveyard onto the field. Ideally, that zombie monster being something like a Necroworld Banshee. So you could then go ahead and make some Link 2 plays using the Unizombie and the Necroworld Banshee. You could go into something like maybe a Halky Fibrax of sorts, which is going to allow you to then go ahead and special summon from the deck Glow Bloom. And that's cracked because now you have Necroworld Banshee in the graveyard, and you could banish it so you could place the zombie world directly on the field. And then you could link away the bloom into Link Karibo, which is going to trigger the bloom so you can special summon the Boulder Rock directly. This is still turn 1. You're insane. The advantage is here, and it's top tier. But then you're like, I'm feeling spicy, called by he's in my opponent's hand. So you go ahead, you link to the Linky Karibo and the Boulder Rock into the thing which is called the Vampire Sucker. And why would you get rid of your Boulder Rock? Well, I just explained it to you like 3 minutes ago. It comes back in the standby phase. And since you have yourself Vampire Sucker on the field, when a zombie monster is summoned from the graveyard onto the field, Vampire Sucker will give you a draw, allowing you to get some more card advantage and just giving you some better field presence as well. Not only that, with Zombie World active, all your monster effects count as zombie effects. So that Halky Fibrax that you summoned on your turn, on your opponent's turn, you could use it at any point in the main phase or battle phase, so you could tag into Formula Synchron so that you could then trigger and chain Doom King Balrog's effect to banish something and just be like, I am the best and I am a winner, and that is pretty much that, and you are happy when that goes well and Harpy's Feather Duster doesn't make you depressed. So that's that. And also, neat interaction, Formula Synchron to draw a card. Did you guys know? Just make sure it doesn't miss timing. It does that a lot. Also, this will never come up, but we don't have Baron, the whatever it's called, the level 10 zombie. Well, it's not even a zombie, it's like a warrior or something since wind or whatever, but it's an honorary zombie. We don't have it yet, so we played Sun Saga instead. So what do we do? Well, you could use Formula Synchron along with Balrog while Zombie World's up so that you could make Sun Saga, and since, you know, Formula Synchron will be a zombie, that play will be valid, and with Zombie World still up, you can actually return your zombie Synchro from your graveyard to the deck, so you could pop with Sun Saga. It, like, rarely comes up because it's so hard to actually, like, keep your Formula Synchron alive past the opponent's battle phase, and in the main phase, usually you don't want to play too much into, like, a bait. Regardless, when you pull it off, it's hot. It's pretty hot, not gonna lie, but it's not necessary at all. Like, 0% necessary. Like, this is just a Baron waiting room, basically. So those are most of the gist of the things that I was talking about of what you will be doing. You also have Jack-O-Bolin, which is a monster that you can summon off of Glow Bloom, or you can summon it by discarding a zombie card from your hand, which sometimes could be useful to get like a Mitsuki, or again, like even another Glow Bloom to the graveyard, or whatever shenanigans you need to get into the graveyard. But what Jack-O-Bolin does is that during your opponent's main phase, you could banish it temporarily so that you could special summon a zombie monster from either player's graveyard. So, you know, of course, you could summon from your own graveyard. However, with Zombie World, yeah, do the thing, and you basically get to steal things from your opponent's graveyards as a quick effect, which being a quick effect means you could kind of choose when you want to activate it so that you could sync it up with Balrog's banish effect. Very powerful, very useful, and it helps you flood the board. Only thing is, Jack-O-Bolin, whatever it summons, does end up getting banished, so you don't want to just keep using it to summon your own Balrog's, for example, in a desperate situation, unless you really, really need to. Otherwise, that ain't coming back, and you're gonna be a Sag boy, so that's an important. Okay. So now what are all these other cards? Well, they help you play. Foolish Burial is cool because it's basically just worse Unizombie, but also better. But it also lets you play through, like, having your normal summon interrupted. So let's say if they Ash Blossom your Unizombie, you can't stop that. Well, you can still mill that important piece with Foolish Burial. So let's say you have either Necroworld Banshee or Balrog in the hand. You could still use Unizombie's other effect to discard to do yada yada yada. You just want his card. And then you could use Foolish Burial to send the other piece to the graveyard. And now you have combo again. And they thought they had you with Ash. Get God. Also, you can just send whatever piece you need depending on this game state of the duel. It's very flexible. In the beginning, you could send like a Mizuki for some extender plays. You could send Gazuki so you can special summon from your hand. You could send Glow Bloom so you could... And you're sending the same shit you're sending off of Unizombie and Gazuki. But what about this card? Well, it's reasonably the best card that you could ever have in like the world. So reasonable is an insane card. It's unreasonable that we could play it at 3 and it's not a once per turn effect. So basically, when you activate it, your opponent declares a level from 1 to 12, and you activate the top of your deck until you reach a card that can be normal summoned or set. And then you special summon it onto the field, as long as the level that the opponent declared isn't the same level as the level of the monster that was excavated. So let's say if they declare 4 and you excavate Mizuki, then it's going to just go to the graveyard, which is, you know, unfortunate. You miss out on a special summon, but you still then get an important piece like Mizuki or Gazuki potentially in the graveyard that you could then trigger graveyard effects with and still do follow plays. And if they declare a wrong level, or if they declare 4 and you get Unizombie instead, what you just got Uni-Zombie for free, or you might have just summoned a Baller Rock and you're just like, I don't have a care in the world, get got. So it's very amazing because like you really are a very normal summon reliant deck. Because prior to this, I was playing this deck as more of like a control deck with like more Rivalry of the Warlords. Spoiler alert, I play Rivalry of the Warlords at 1 because I don't play other cards that I probably should be playing more of because I'm poor. So your normal summon is very fragile, so you want to make sure that you don't just straight up die to your normal summon. So that's why Reasoning helps give you an avenue to be able to play through that. But that's not all. You have a little mini engine, courtesy of Kamikita, that lets us also still have plays in case we don't have a normal summon that is viable or in case it gets interrupted. We have the Rocket Engine. So we play 3 copies of Quick Launch, which allows you to special summon 1 Rocket Monster from your deck, but cannot attack and destroy it during the end phase. You don't care about that part. You just care about special summoning a Rocket Monster from the deck. If they ash it, you're like, okay, I do it again with my second copy in hand. Ain't a hard was returned, baby. We broken. So what you do, you special summon the Rocket Tracer from your deck, which will then allow you to link summon into the Striker Dragon, which on summon will allow you to go ahead and add Boot Sector Launch from deck to hand. I know it's a lot of things I'm talking about. The whole point is using this to get this, to make this, so you can grab that. That's a +1 suddenly. Wowie. But then what now? So then you use this card's effect, which says, hey, I want to be popped. So you pop it, and that's going to allow you to add this from your graveyard back to your hand. Okay, still no normal summon used. That's cute, but what is the purpose? Well, then you activate Boot Sector Launch, and then you go ahead and activate its effect to special summon Rocket Tracer from the hand. Still no normal summon, you're crazy. But then what? Since you can use Rocket Tracer's effect to pop a card on the field to special summon a rocket from the deck, the card you got for free, you get to pop for free. So you could then go ahead and special summon, I don't know, Rocket Recharger. You could go ahead and use this so you can summon Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, or Warlord Savage Dragon. So it really depends on the game state. If you have no other plays, you have no other ways to actually get into your combo, you make Chaos Ruler so you could mill 5 and then add amongst those 5 a light or dark monster from those milled to your hand instead. So in this build, unfortunately, we do play a lot of non-dark and non-light monsters. We play no light monsters in the main deck, which is what I was talking about before with an Effectful Veiler, where if we replace, like, let's say the Maxi with 3 Effect Veilers, then you'd have a lot better outcomes, because then you'd be able to potentially add an Effect Veiler for free off of Chaos Ruler so that you have the disruption on your opponent's turn from the hand while having the potential combo set up. So Maxi being Earth type, as well as even Solitaire being a Fire type, Ash Blossom being a Fire type, Mizuki and Guzuki being a Fire type, and Jacobolin being Fire types means you're actually in kind of like not the best situation where you actually do have a decent chance of not milling a Dark type, which it's fine if you like mill a Mizuki because that still gives you plays, and even Guzuki Milk still gives you plays, but it's something to consider where you might just end up like milling cards that are just like fire attributes and you're just like wow. So that's why, you know, in all honesty, this is how you should be playing this deck. I am going to be trying to collect this, but something YouTube fund my Effect Veiler or whatever. That's pretty much the deck. Those are the main combos. If you already have your Zombie World Doom King set up already, then you just go into Borlo Savage Dragon instead. So, you know, by doing your Rocket setup in general, you already have yourselves a Link 1 off of Striker in the graveyard, which you could attach onto the Borlo Savage Dragon, so you guarantee a negate of whatever your opponent does on their turn. So it's a really nice way to be able to start the game, because, like, there's a lot of ways that, like, Harpy's Feather Duster sucks, and a lot of other ways that your opponent could disrupt your setup. So having like a way to stop their one way of killing you and then being able to control the board with Doom King afterwards is really nice. And I don't know, maybe you don't want Striker, maybe you want Vampire Sucker as your Link material instead. We'll put it on there. That's 2 negates, so you're welcome. You're broken now. Avenger and Savior is really just here as a desperate wave to be able to go ahead and mill. It's a little awkward because you have to attack into a monster specifically to be able to use this effect to mill a zombie monster. To mill a zombie monster from your deck so that you could reduce the opponent's attack by its level times 200, but it could come in clutch when you're lacking on any ways to access the final piece of your, you know, of your Zombie World engine. Let's say you have Banshee already, but you really need to mill that Boulder Rock, and that's the only way you could get going. Then at least it provides you an extra deck avenue to be able to mill those if you need to. It's a lot of times you're already in a losing state when you have to come to that, but it depends on what kind of grind game you're in, and it could very much help, especially like late game when they've already disrupted one of your pieces, like they banish your Doom King or they hit your zombie world and you get another Banshee in the graveyard. That's your way of doing that. So I think that's pretty much it. Nightmare Unicorn is really cool. It's strong and it has a great effect that sometimes comes up. Same with Phoenix. I rarely did it because I'm a bad player, but they were great when I wanted to link up into the Access Code Talker, which actually gives us OTK potential, which is feasible when we have so many cards of special summon, like Quick Launch and Reasoning. Last piece to talk about. So what do we have? We have Super Poly at 2. Why? Well, because everything is a zombie now. Zombie World's broken. Remember this. So we have Dragon Decker in our extra deck, which just requires 2 zombie monsters. So we just do Super Poly. We discard whatever shenanigans we want in the graveyard, like the freaking Glow Bloom to do big PP plays, or the Mizuki to do big PP plays. Big PP plays using 2 of their monsters that are now zombies, 6 of Zombie World, so we can summon Dragon Decker and Nether Soul Dragon. Okay, so that's cute. You also have Starving Venom, Fusion Dragon in desperate situations where you're not quite able to set up your zombie world yet, but you really need to like just stop their board from existing. So especially if it's a dark oriented deck that sets up like a big board, you could use Super Polarization that can't be negated, and you just summon Starving Venom off of their field, which is really helpful. We also play Mud Dragon of the Swamp King, or of the Swamp. It's really there just for certain situations, like let's say you're going second against Drytron and they summon like Herald of Ultimateness alongside like Drytron, having like a Drytron monster, so like they have a light machine and like a light fairy. Use Super Polarization to say stop negating everything, so that you could at least stop the Ultimateness from existing, and then you make a very weak boy that still probably isn't strong enough to beat over their Appaloosa, but hey, at least you could try as you start activating effects and then beat over in the battle phase. That's the real one play you beat Drytron going second with. So Super Poly is one of your best techs if you're going second to break big boards, especially if you're able to get Zombie World on the field. You're just guaranteed to be able to disrupt so much with Super Poly. So yeah, this is the deck. I mean, I played it with 3 backs you saw earlier, but this is how the deck should be played IMO. Rivalry is just nice. I played it at 3 in previous builds because, like, let's say you have Zombie World on the field, even if you don't have Boulder Rock set up, even if you have just Zombie World on the field, Tri Brigade summon a monster, or anyone summons a monster, nobody's playing zombies. You're the only zombie player in the world. Let's be honest here. So you activate Rivalry of the Warlords, they're just stuck on that one monster now, and you can just kind of control the tempo of the duel now until you kind of amass the pieces you need to beat over the opponent. So it's really nice to have like that option, but honestly I just couldn't think of another card to add here. I was initially playing Nibiru, but I feel like being a best of 1 format in Master Duels, it's just not really helpful enough. As much as Nibiru feels essential going second against a lot of decks, I feel like we just were running into too many decks that were like Eldritch, for example, that weren't really popping off because like they weren't summoning 5 times, so it was just a waste of the space, and we were just sad. Though it was nice when you summoned Nibiru off of Reasoning. So yep, that's the deck. It's fun. It's not perfect, but it's definitely, I think, kind of like I think this is how like the deck should be piloted. I think because it's so normal summon reliant, it needs to be piloted with different engines that can help it play through that. So another what I would replace Rivalry of Warlords would probably be like Instant Fusion. So you could then also play the Sea Monster of Theus, and that's just another way for you to get another special summon on board in case your opponent says, hey, here's an Ash on your Uni-Zombie, and you're like, oh, okay. And then I guess you probably take out Mud Dragon, or say, hey, Baron's not here, take out Sansaga. And then, you know, Theus alongside whatever else can help you make the Hauki Fibrex, which can then help lead you into other plays. So it's just a thing that exists, something to consider, but nothing that's essential. If this is still part of the YouTube profile, then my subscribership sucks, so subscribe to me, bro. I fucking need to farm those views. Come through, hit that comment button and write a like. Bye, everybody.